Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Better Car Washing Everywhere. I'm your host, Matt DeWolf, and I have been having lots of conversations lately with folks in the industry about are we up or are we down? How are things going? Is there space for me to grow? And the answer is I don't know, right? I don't really know. But what I do know is that there remains a lot of opportunity in the space, whether it's on that express model side that everybody's into, or a lesser thing being talked about is on the self-serve and in-base side. So we're going to dive into that a little bit today, and to talk a little bit about that and a little bit about what's going on in the industry. I'm bringing on Nikita Klinisovs from McClean Solutions. Nikita, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, Matt.
I think this is a big conversation. And as we were kind of talking before the show, uh, we're not sure how much we should talk about this because this might be the golden goose, right? That's laying golden eggs.
That's true. Yeah. It almost makes you wonder, should it be, but is it a best kept secret for a reason, or
Right.
is it something left to be explored? No, I think just like anything else, I think the more smart and excited people there are, uh, that are excited about a specific topic or a specific industry or a subset of an industry, right? The more innovation, the more cool things you start to see, and then the better it makes all of us. And so, I think it never hurts to have conversations.
So share with me, yeah. So you work in this space, but share with me before we get into this, like where'd you come from? How'd you end up in car washing?
Yeah, great question. So I uh, started at basically I jumped feet first into the car wash industry just after graduating college. I was introduced to the space by Brent McCurdy. Uh,
Yep.
some people know who that is, some people don't. And he, at the time, let me know that there was a pretty large opportunity in the Philadelphia area to have a distribution company that actually, specifically chemical distribution company that is looking to work with car wash operators, make them better, and not just, take orders and get chemical dropped off and then say, have a great day. And I did not know anything about the space. I had interned for his company for a summer for like 2.5 months, but more of a office type of internship rather than car wash internship. And so, had very minimal exposure to what it was, to what the world of car wash chemistry was, and just the world of car washing. Had maybe washed my car 10 times in my life up to that point. And,
How many
fast
how many
forward
times have you watched it now?
thousands,
About
thousands.
yeah,
I just, yeah, I couldn't even tell you. I mean, between my car and all the rental cars that I washed, holy,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But no, and so I did some research and, identified that he was probably right. I should have taken his word for it. He knew indeed what he was talking about. But, as a young college kid, you want to do your own research and make sure that you're going to be excited about it as well, and confirm that. And as soon as I was ready to go, as soon as there was no more classes to go to, I started the company and started learning trial by fire, basically. And so, his manufacturing company at the time had some car washes that they were working with in the local area that they weren't necessarily supporting the best in terms of service, because that wasn't really their business to be in the, selling direct to car washes. They're more of a sell to distributors type of company, as is McLean. And so, I took over and I started fixing them up and learning car washes by starting from the back room and out, basically, and from the chemical panels and dispensing boards and hydrominders out to the bays. And it was a lot of fun. You dive into something, especially when you don't know about anything, and you like, if you would have asked me 10 years ago if I would be in car washing, there's zero chance that that would have even been on my radar. There's absolutely zero chance. And if you ask me now that whether, I love the business or not, I mean, I can with confidence say that, obviously you can't predict what life is going to bring and what you're going to do, but in one way, shape, or form, I think I'll be always connected to the car wash industry, for as long as I want to have a professional life, in any capacity. So, it's too fun. I mean, I really like the people. I think there's just a lot of really good people in this business. I think it's a nice blend of, doing stuff, with your hands out and inside of car washes, and, behind the scenes stuff, and talking to people and trade shows and, all the good stuff. And, um, and so that's fun. And as an entrepreneurial kind of ADHD minded person, the fact that you can do many things on any given day is, extra exciting as well. So yeah, that's sort of my background. And then pretty much as McClean was forming, I stepped over into the manufacturing side of chemistry, and we've been building McClean now for nearly 5 years. And so it's been a blast. And at the McLean level, I got exposure to kind of more nationally, right? What is car washing all over this country, not just the greater Philadelphia area. And so it's been a blast. I mean, I will say, is maybe as a little bit of an unfortunate spoilers, I thought that I would see so much differentiation in different parts of the country. I just thought everywhere I went, I thought I'd see, all these exciting new things. And unfortunately, there's a whole lot of very similar that you end up seeing. But the little things is really what ends up making something more memorable than otherwise, right? So,
Yeah, that's a great point, Nikita. Like there was a time in this industry where things were pretty different, right? Like you could
mhm.
go from place to place and be like, "Wow, that's a really different way of doing that," or "Wow, I've never seen it like that before." We are in a time in this industry where it's getting a little homogenous, right? And so people are starting to think about differentiation in ways they didn't have to think about before. Things like, how do I really ramp up my customer experience, and what does that feel like at the end of the day, and how does my brand come forward in that? Those weren't necessarily conversations that car washers were having 10, 15 years ago. The great ones were, right? The folks we still know today that are still in this business and have built great organizations, they were having those conversations. Now everybody in the space has to have that conversation, and we're competing at a whole different level. Um, does that track with what you're seeing as you're out among the washes and kind of working with folks in the field?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think as more markets get more saturated, right? And the more you drive past car washes, the more you start to realize, oh, there's a car wash, oh, there's a car wash, right? The more it looks kind of standardized, and the more normal it becomes to see three car washes in the same commercial square, the more the little things start to matter, right? And so what I'm seeing is the good operators, the operators that care about, and I will say most often I see this on the small mom and pop, not necessarily 1, 2 locations always, sometimes those as well, but the the 3, 4, 5, 6 location chains, they really know and they lean into the customer experience side of it because
Yeah.
that's their bread and butter. And so those little things end up making a huge difference. And back in the day, it was just putting out a clean car, right? People just needed to wash their cars. Now that you have 5 different places where you could go and wash your car, now we can get into the debate of whether all of them actually put out a clean car or not. That's a chemistry nerd out we can do if you want to. But nevertheless, you can go to 5 different places to do the thing you used to be able to do at this one place, right? And so now how you get it clean now, right? What you see when you're there, even what you smell when you're there, what kind of interactions with people do you have when you're there? What kind of interactions with technology do you have when you're there? All start to matter. Despite the phones, right? Everyone's always like, customers on their phone most of the time, anyways. Well, guess what? If you can get their attention away from their phone, you win. You win. So,
Well, and even when they're on their phone, they notice, right? And they,
yeah,
they especially, it's I think it's really important that we think about in this business every interaction that we're having, and where is that leading our customer, because it can be really small things like, maybe you've got an auto attendant, and when somebody comes up to that, what does that feel like? Like, what's the flow? Do you have things in the right order? Because guess what? Sometimes it's as easy as switching two things around, and that will change how that feels to the customer in terms of when they got the ask, right?
yeah.
So there's all kinds of little psychological things that you got to pay attention to once you start thinking about customer experience as opposed to raw conversion, right?
Yeah.
Conversion, great. Yeah, if you're just pushing to sales, great. There's a way to do that, but it's got to be different today. I think
Yeah.
it's got to be more. We got to be more in our fields, Nikita. We got to be more in the fields.
Conversion's very robotic, right? If you
Yeah,
leave,
yeah,
I do quite a bit of stalking car wash reviews. I'm not going to say I do it daily, but there's often times when I'll deep dive and I'll look through some car washes that I've recently been to or some friends' car washes, and I'll just read what people are saying. And
yeah,
one of the things that you'd be surprised, and maybe you already have seen this as well, but I feel like people don't talk about this. One of the things you're starting to see more often is this car wash doesn't pitch me a membership every time that I go through as
yeah.
feedback. And
As a
as
positive
as a
thing. Yeah,
positive, correct, right.
yeah,
So just pushing those numbers, just pushing sales when your pitch is just, pitch every customer that's not retail and just do it over and over and over and over again, standardized, right? Has its pros. I'm not saying don't pitch customers, right? I think at the end
right,
of the day,
right.
you should have a good strategy for sales, but the less robotic it seems, the more natural it seems, the less that customer is going to go, all right, this is annoying. I can't, I got to find somewhere else because I can't just be asked to get a membership every single time I'm here. I just don't care enough. Right. And so, yeah.
That goes into a whole different conversation that we can have a different
Yeah.
time. But it's all about the journey, right?
Yeah.
And if you haven't spent the time to think through that customer journey and what those interactions are like and where you should be asking them the right questions, you're missing it.
Agreed. Well, so let me add one thing. So we're all kind of car wash nerds, right? So and a majority of us, especially the ones that care about their businesses a lot and try to achieve that kind of perfection. And so, but we get stuck in the car wash nerd mode. We don't step into the customer's shoes, right? We're like we're gonna have the best POS and it's gonna do this and this and that and it's gonna but we don't kind of take that hat off for a second and just like pull up to the pay station and just like do the process and then go through the car wash, pay attention to everything that a customer would see, right? I find that that's one thing we could definitively improve and do more often, right? Almost like a regular self audit, like an honest one too. A truly objective, just I'm just gonna do this as if you were going through a customer's car wash. What do you see,
That's funny.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's 100% correct because so many people in the industry are like, oh, I can get that car cleaner. I can get that car 1% cleaner. It's like, well, yeah, you probably can. Like you can do that,
Yeah,
but does a customer notice?
yeah,
Do they see it? Do they feel it? If not, I don't know. You might be spinning your wheels. You might be wasting some time.
yeah.
Um, let's talk specifically. Let's get into self-serve and embase because you made a comment here about normalizing there being three car washes in a square block there. That's real.
Yeah.
That is prevalent and happening, and lots of places it has happened. So as you and I were talking, it's like, well, how do you differentiate? Well, maybe it's a different model. So let's talk a little bit about what are you seeing in terms of kind of the state of self serves and
Mhm.
in-bay automatics right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the common misconceptions I'd say. So first of all, I mean, our industry in the last 5 years has shifted to pretty much we almost exclusively
Yeah.
talk about tunnels. You go to every ICA
Right.
show, you go to every other show, and it's like, majority of the attention, I'd say 80, 90% of the attention is on tunnels.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in-bay automatics still double the tunnels out there, according to whatever the last ICA study was. They still more than double, right? Um, and they are also in areas where tunnels probably would never really go. Smaller towns, like hard to, get larger plots of land locations. So, and some might argue, okay, I'd put a mini tunnel there. Okay, that's separate
Sure.
conversation. But
Yeah, that's a different model,
yeah,
but that's a
yeah, it's
different
a
model.
different
Yeah.
model exactly. So, but the common misconception is that as more tunnels come into play, less people are washing self-serve. And that's not really true. I mean, certainly people that only had one option to wash prior, now have more. That's totally fair. But you're also doing a significantly better job of advertising car wash. And so what you're doing is like as an industry, we're capturing more and more and more of the market that's out there that's either home washing or never washing by becoming more convenient, by becoming better, prettier, cleaner, whatever, right? We're attracting more and more of that. And so the pie just keeps getting bigger, and the people that want to do it themselves, like anything else, I mean, you name it, right? There's people that still to this day don't go to restaurants more than like, you know, once every couple of weeks. They cook for themselves. Is it very convenient to get whatever Grubhub, Uber Eats, and you know, and go out these days for quick and relatively healthy meals that are probably not that crazy expensive 100%, and yet people still don't do that, right? So that market isn't going anywhere. And if anything, more people are, especially like as there's, you know, let's just, you name it, any larger chain of car washes, maybe not any, but many of the larger chains of car washes have been on the local news in their respective counties for how they handled damage claims. I'm not even going to say that they were at fault, right? I'm not even going to say that they were the ones that damaged their cars, but how they handled damage claims. And that tells some of these people, hey, you know, maybe those types of car washes shouldn't be trusted. And so they start leaning back towards self-serve, or they start leaning back towards touch-free. And so that, you know, sort of additional advertising that's being done across the board is only helping all of it. And with self-serves, I mean, there's locations I've been to in different parts of this country where they do, you know, they might wash 60, 70,000 cars out of two automatics, some even more, depending on, you know, how densely populated the areas. But even like, I even know rural areas that wash 50, 60,000 cars a year. And I know those sound like low numbers to probably tunnel operators, right?
But it's low overhead. Lower overhead.
Correct. The
Like,
overhead is
yeah.
completely different. Yeah. So I mean, you know, the good operators are staffing their locations during the days usually. That's what I would recommend, especially if you have a busy, truly busy location, right? If you're just trying to turn it around, it's especially in your interest. But other than the one person that's there who's typically just, you know, cleaning up and interacting with customers, they're not necessarily a full-on maintenance person or a full-on manager. Their job is just to be an attendant on site. It's like a customer service representative, basically. And so that's it. And it's pretty incredible, you know, some of the locations I've been to. I mean, even like membership is totally an option. There's even membership only locations out there doing self-serve and automatics. There's a lot of really creative things. It's just the numbers are a little bit different. And so like the numbers aren't as large, right? On the top side. And so it's less attractive to larger groups that like to play with larger numbers, but the returns are still solid. The returns are, you know, just as good, basically. I mean, just kind of scaled, right? So you kind of scale it up for the headache, right? Once you reach the level of headache that is tunnel with in-bays and self-serves, you know, you might be at 2 or 3 locations, and you know, the numbers will speak for themselves. So
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, the opportunity that even exists in that space, and the MBA and self-serve space when it comes to experience side. Like, you know, the tunnel experience in general, right? The goal is always get a member. So you get the
mhm,
member, great. Now that member goes through the members only lane and there's no connection. There's, you know, if you're a good operator, you've got somebody working the vacuum lots after and
mhm,
you can get they're going and they're having some engagement that way. But you lose all interaction, like from the
mhm,
moment that you create that membership, which is a whole different conversation in terms of how we communicate with people after. But as it stands today, most of them lose that connection point right there. When you start looking at a self-serve environment and an MBA environment, there are real opportunities for people who want to get creative and they want to think outside the box. They could create some customer experiences and some things and some activations at those locations that would blow people away,
yeah,
right? I mean, you think about, typically you see a tunnel and they do a grand opening, right? And it's like, oh, well, maybe they've got food trucks and they've got some community things going on and whatever. If you're a self-serve operation, you can do that all the time.
yeah.
That could be a staple of your operation. Same thing with an MBA,
Taco
right?
Tuesdays.
You can have these things. Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, why not? Why not? Why not have that? Why not have that staffed? And why not have that? Why not take a piece of those proceeds of that go back to the community? Bang! Now you have community connections. So there are all these opportunities with these different models, which is why this industry is so fun, right?
Yep.
Like there's all kinds of stuff that can still be done. We haven't. We started this off talking about how things have gotten a little bit homogenous, sure, but
Mhm.
that homogenous nature creates innovation, I think, and I think we're
Yeah.
going to start to see that on the NBA and self-serve side.
We've already seen it, frankly. I mean, it's already starting to happen between people are now putting arches in, right? Grand entrance arches in front of their automatic bays, street facing. There's light shows inside of self-serve bays. There's been light shows inside of in bays for some time. But there's now light shows inside of self-serve bays. There's virtual attendance being used to address problems and concerns. There's self-serve membership. There's vacuum activation for members. I mean, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot that's already emerging and pretty taken over pretty rapidly. So
Well, and one of the interesting things, so we also talked about how, in the U.S. things are all kind of the same. Um, One of the things that blew my mind when I got a chance to visit some washes in Spain, in bay automatic, right? And you pull up and you pull up and you pay with your phone. Cool, that's neat. That's becoming more common now too. Um, but then, Nikita, you get out of the car and you walk inside and you go have a cup of coffee while it washes your car. And I was so uncomfortable in that whole process because like I'm sitting there and the person I'm with gets out as they're like they paid, they pulled up, they get in the position and they get out of the car. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, where are you going? Like, this isn't right. And I I turn around and I look behind me and I'm like, there's a little bit of a queue lined up here behind me.
right.
And I'm like, oh, this is the what? I don't think this is gonna end well. And the people behind, they just got out of their car and they stood up and they were just hanging around. And like, so we went out, we had a cup of coffee and like talked to the people behind. It was amazing. It was
Wow.
amazing. It's a totally different experience,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we're like, no, stay in the car, watch the car, go
Yeah,
forward.
yeah. Was it
I don't know.
was it the afternoon break time in Spain? Is that what it was?
No, that's how it works, man. It's
That's
just
awesome.
different pace. And it goes back to this thing about experience. What kind of experience could you create? Now, obviously, yeah, you're going to take a volume hit if everybody's like
Right.
during the wash going to get a cup of
Yeah.
coffee or like hanging around and smoking a cigarette or whatever they're doing. But
Right.
I don't know. It opens some doors to think differently about what a traditional wash at an NBA automatic or a rollover could be like.
Yeah. No, agreed. And I think, I mean, you brought up an interesting point too, just about, reinvesting proceeds from some of these kind of community events back into the community. That's, what you're touching on there is really that if you're a small town wash, right, and you're not doing that, I mean, listen, I understand if you're in the city of Philadelphia, like it's really hard for you to be like the Philadelphia car wash if you're a little, in bay automatic and self serve. You could still be that within your local whatever neighborhood, right? I'm sure there's probably a neighborhood Facebook page. You could still be that within that. But especially if you're in smaller towns, there's nothing stopping you from being the town's car wash, from working with the local high school, elementary school, middle school, whatever, from doing fundraisers or sponsoring the baseball league or whatever. I mean, like you name it, it's really not that difficult for you to participate, and that is the difference in maybe them choosing you over more of a larger brand that's from out of town that they don't feel connected to, or that might be the difference between them, not thinking about washing their car and going to you to wash their car, going out of their way to go to you to wash their car when they see that you're supporting the community, right? They might go, you know what? It's been a while since I've washed my car. I should go over there, right? Not guaranteeing they're going to show up every time like that, but it does put you top of mind, right? It's a touch point. So,
Let's talk memberships a little bit because I think
mhm.
this is interesting. I think a lot of folks have been talking about in-bay automatic memberships and how does that work in self-serves. What are you seeing on that front? How many people are doing memberships? Are you starting to see people go away from it?
Okay. It's a very, very good question. I think so. Brent actually did a talk at ICA, I think it was 2 years ago now. And I think so he interviewed a lot of operators, and I think the way he ended up framing it is very appropriate for in-bay automatics. And that's there's sort of four quadrants, right, for membership. And this is really talking about in-bays at the moment specifically. Self-serve is even more complicated. But on the in-bay side specifically, there really is definitely yes, definitely no, maybe yes, maybe no. And so what I mean there is definitely, yes, you should definitely have membership, meaning you're not. So some of the qualifiers, I'll try to be quick with it, but qualifiers are, do you have competition that's got loyalty? Are you high volume? If you do have competition that has loyalty and you are not high volume, what do you really have to lose by going adding membership? Because guess what? There's a loyalty program that you're competing against. It's not like you're washing at tons of cars anyways. So you should definitely do it. Definitely know is you are high volume, you don't have competition with loyalty. Don't dilute yourself. It's okay. You won't. You're okay. And then the maybes is where basically it starts to become like, okay, I do wash a lot of cars and I kind of have competition, but they don't have loyalty yet. And then I don't wash a lot of cars and I do compete against loyalty, but like, we both kind of have low volume. So it gets a little bit more complicated on the maybes. But I think looking at it that way, it's not like categorical, absolutely, right? It's not that you definitively should have membership in the self-serve in-bays or you definitively shouldn't, or it works specifically only in this environment. It's also not true, right? It just comes down to leveraging it as a tool. Because at the end of the day, the point of membership is to wash more cars. Activity breeds activity. And yes, it standardizes your revenue. Yes, it makes you like more predictable. Yes, it offsets some of the seasonality. But at the end of the day, it's activity breeds more activity. If you have 10 members, it's going to be really hard for you to sell membership on its own. If you have 1,000 members, your membership is going to start to sell itself slowly because people are going to be like, oh my gosh, these members, they're so, they just go all the time. The cars are so clean. My friend's a neighbor, a member or whatever, right? So, but where people have had success with it is just like in tunnels, actually selling. That's the key. Is that if I still to this day know people that will put in membership and then they complain about how high their usage is on average and how it's driving their ticket average down, which is good. It's going to drive your ticket average down, right? That should be expected. If you're doing it and someone's telling you that it's not going to drive your ticket average down, I don't know what they're telling you. The idea is to push volume higher, right? And then once you build up that member count, then you basically become the Fed and you can play with the rates, right? I mean, no, seriously
Yeah,
though.
right,
So
right.
that's
Yeah,
one
that's
thing
exactly how
that
it goes. Yeah.
that's one thing that basically through his interviews and in preparation for that talk, one of the things that Brent learned was that um, as you build up that member count is now some of your loyal fans. You making a small adjustment to some of those loyal fans makes almost no difference to them, makes a huge difference to your bottom line. And so one of the things we learned is, that the multiples on membership in the in-bay world probably shouldn't be like tunnels. As much as you think you need to compete with tunnels, I think you just need to do a better job of having a stronger value proposition, and explain why they're choosing you over them. But I think your multiple on membership should be higher, because the
Because
reality is
there's
that
going to be more use. Yeah,
there
there's
it's
100%
going
going
to
to
be
be more
more, and your
use.
throughput, and the biggest factor really is that your throughput is lower, right? So if
Yeah.
you have 5 in-bay automatics that can wash at 4 or 5 minutes a car and do a great job, then your throughput is that of a pretty decently high volume tunnel. There's very few of those around. The average is like 2. And so with 2 automatics, you can wash what? And some of the fastest, I'm not going to go to the extremes where they say they can wash a car in 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. That's a whole separate. It creates a negative customer experience. I think when you wash too fast, I think we're starting to forget that, especially in the in-bay automatic world. But let's just say it takes you, 5 minutes to wash a car. And so between 2 bays, you got, you know, call it probably 150, 180 cars a day tops, like maximum, right? So your numbers are different, and that's going to slow you down, and that's going to at one point increase your usage, but then at a later point decrease your usage because the busier your location gets, the less that member is going to stop by at a busy time just to wash because they wanted to wash. The more likely they are to come back a few days later when it's slower and then wash. So, but anyhow, yeah. So with the in-bay world, those that do it typically do it for a reason of pushing volume higher and competing against loyalty. And those that succeed with it are the ones that do the same exact thing and actually sell, just like the same advice that we give to tunnels, right? You have to sell that membership. And there are some payment terminals now that do so far seem to do a pretty decent job. Decent job. I'm not going to say they're awesome. Nothing's ever going to replace. Nothing ever is going to replace a human. Yeah. And then on the self-serve front, so the only way that I've seen people really do a lot with just self-serve memberships is basically like fully one price access to self-serve at, for X amount of time per day. And that seems to work okay. I don't necessarily hear anyone like, you know, crushing it with that. But one thing that I do find interesting that I'm hearing more of recently is operators starting to get creative with their memberships for in-bays. And so in the in-bay world, right, how do you justify a higher multiple? Well, one of the ways you could do it is by having, hey, you get self-serve time, every day, in addition to your in-bay automatic wash if you'd like. And then I actually know an operator that is throwing in like a car care kit that they like put together. They're like the smaller community. I mean, they have like 7 or 8 locations now, but they're putting together this kind of car care bundle to give. But they're basically doing like a $40 a month membership, $45 a month membership, and they're trying to build a community out of it. They're basically branding and positioning it as a like a car person's membership. It's like, hey, if you really care for your car and you want to be able to scrub down the rough area in the self-serve bay, take it through the automatic, get it perfectly cleaned, and then use some of these supplies to do some of your interior, touch up whatever spots, right? Like, this is for you. And so I haven't heard back yet how it's going, because that last I spoke to that operator was just getting launched. But I think there's room for creativity. Like you said, there's room to think of unique experiences more in the self-serve and in-bay world even than in the tunnel world. And so yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I'm always curious to like run into something new in that world, which is why I've recently been looking for the in-bay and self-serve gated members only locations to go visit, because I think that's really intriguing.
Well, and I think like what you just touched on, I would love to know how it goes for them, because I think that's a phenomenal idea, because it gets back to marketing 101, which is know your customer, right?
Hmm.
Know your audience. The audience, the people using in-bays and self-serves will skew more toward the car guy, right?
Hmm.
Like they're believing misinformation about tunnels do damage
Hmm.
and it's all these things. So they're there because they are a car person and they have
Hmm.
a different mentality, and that's a totally different market. So good on that operator for identifying that and saying, hey, I'm gonna lean in, I'm gonna niche down to what I know my people want and provide that for them. That's
Right.
huge. That's huge. I think it's gonna, if he's in the right demographic, it's gonna go. It's gonna
Yeah, I
go
think so.
awesome.
I think so too. And ultimately what it really comes down to is you're creating a closer connection with that customer. I think, that's one of the things as markets get more competitive, as even as more people start to fix up some of these older rundown in-bays and self-serves, right? If you're an operator that owns 7, you're probably not necessarily looking to buy every single one in town. And so inevitably someone will buy the other one. And even as that happens, right? I mean, there's going to be more competition, and where you stand out is how your customer, just like anything else, right? It's how your customer feels about you, your brand, about the service they get from you. I'm a creature of habit. I know a lot of humans are creatures of habit, and so if it's simple, if it's been working and I'm happy, I'm going to keep doing the same thing. It's why do you? I have several grocery stores I could choose from, and I keep going to the same one because guess what? It works for me. So that's it.
You know where the peanut butter is at that store.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's right.
You
That's
know
right.
exactly where your thing is. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's funny. Okay, so yeah, I mean, tons of opportunity in this space, and I hope that people who are listening see that. And there's a lot of benefits and opportunities to looking at this particular model over a tunnel operation. But let's talk a little bit about limitations people might be running into. Like,
Hmm.
what are the struggles that people are having that you're helping people through?
Yeah. So, well, I think one of the things I'll highlight, because I think just for some reason, I mean, across the board, honestly, we don't have this perfectly figured out, but especially in the in-bay world, and self-serve largely, more in-bays weirdly than self-serves, but just cleanliness of the site. I mean, this isn't necessarily something that I'm helping people with, but um, I get really surprised, right, when I go to self-serve locations, that their signage is barely legible, and the gun leaks, and the foam brush, has a bunch of the hog hairs that are missing and stuff like that, and of course I'm not saying, everywhere is like this, and of course there's some bad operators that neglect locations out there that will never do anything, but at the end of the day, even the operators that do well, I find it, like, financially do well, I find could pay more attention to, like, what the customer sees when they're on site. Because, like, we're selling clean. At the very core, we're selling clean. It's really hard to sell clean when your bay is filthy. And obviously, in the self-serve world, right? If you're not staffed and somebody comes in and blasts out a pickup truck bed, your bay is not going to be clean. I get that. Right? And like signage, right? Like, this is, people notoriously are bad at reading signage. People notoriously don't know how to use a self-serve car wash, especially the younger people these days. And so, what excuse you have for not being able to replace four, five, six $150 signs, not even, because it's just aluminum panel with printed, stuff on top of it. It's not the most expensive signs in the world. You just drill them into the wall. It's not gonna bankrupt you. But one thing that I find myself doing often these days is that I think, as we've one of the wrong turns that a lot of people have made, is specifically on the self-serve world, I'll talk about, is that we, like, operators feel like customers don't notice, don't pay attention. And so they think, oh, and this, like, let's talk self-serve chemistry, right? So they think that things just need to look good and smell good. They don't necessarily need to clean per se. They don't necessarily need to bead, the water on the surface of the vehicle. They don't necessarily need to perform if it's a higher end product type of deal. All customers care is that it looks pretty and smells good. They're right about the customers that you don't really care about much. The ones that, no matter what you do, won't come to you extra frequently, for any reason other than their car got filthy and they need the cheapest way to possibly blast off it with water, right? The customers that care about their car might not notice the first time, might not notice the second time, but the one time when their car is, like, filthy and they come in and they try to clean it, and it doesn't seem to come out clean no matter how hard they scrub or no matter how hard they wash, or it's just way too difficult to wash it or whatever, right? They do notice. And that one experience might be a reason they try something else the next time. Versus, there's this whole other class of self-serve operators that, and I agree more with the second one, that leans into, I want my customers to have the best of the best here, so that anytime they go anywhere else, they don't even think about coming back. They might put in $2 to turn it on. As soon as the foam brush looks terrible, they turn it off and they drive back to me, right? And they run pre-soaks that actually, dissolve dirt, and they run tire cleaners that actually can break down things that are on the tires, and they run bug removers, right? Spend an extra 2 cents, 3 cents, whatever that is. Spend it. That's your interaction with the customer. Is your only way to interact at that point is to have them use that function and go, whoa, this is awesome. Achieve that. Why not? It's not, listen, if it's going to cost you like an arm and a leg, you're probably using the incorrect chemical for that function. That's my guess.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, it's like there's baseline experience that you have to hit it out of the park with, and then you build on that, and you
Yep.
build and build and build, and that's how you stay differentiated. That's the whole. That's the whole game. That's the whole game. You
Absolutely.
have to deliver a good product. If your product sucks, no amount of marketing or sales will ever help you.
Yep.
It's always going to be in the tank. So,
100%.
all right. we could talk for a long time about this stuff. There's so many things we haven't gotten into, but we will save that for another episode. I want to finish with my favorite question, which is, Nikita, what's one thing that we could all be doing today that's going to make us better tomorrow? Could be personal, could be professional, could be anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So I, for several years now, have absolutely loved the concept of little victories. It's at one point I even had the Twitter, or now X, I guess, handle for little victories, and I think especially like some of the drivers in this business, right? There's a lot of really, really hard pushing, fast moving entrepreneurs in this industry, and many others. We get stuck on bigger picture and the final destination, or the large goals and all of that, and we forget about taking a break in between and really acknowledging how far we've come, how awesome it is where we are, how awesome it is that we have built a team, right? Or have gotten to XYZ locations, um and just achieve the things that we've already achieved. Like, it's really easy to just sit there and say, I'm not there yet. And so the little victories along the way is like huge. I mean, it's the little it's the little reasons to celebrate, just life and effort and work and overcoming stress and growing, right? It's reasons to celebrate, and it re-energizes you. It reminds you of why you're doing the thing in the first place. And so I think we could all celebrate the little victories a little bit more, and with our teams too, not just internally. I think as leaders, we ought to do a better job of that. We ought to acknowledge, like, we get, even with employees that we maybe have a tough time with, right? We get really sucked into just like, okay, just constantly having issues and constantly having issues. But let's like find reasons to acknowledge progress. Let's find reasons to acknowledge growth and celebrate it. Here's the challenge, right? Take if you have a team that you work with, take a teammate out to lunch to celebrate a small win,
Yeah,
a little victory. So
I like
yeah.
that. You're speaking my language, Nikita. Speaking my language, man. I love that. I'm it's a rat race sometimes, right? And we just keep going and churning and burning. And it's like, yeah, we do have to slow down. We just got to
Yeah.
look and take stock of what we have done and be proud of that, and be proud of the people that have helped get us there. 100%.
Yeah. There's a good book I'll throw in that Ryan Easter originally recommended to me, but The Gap and the Gain talks about gap mindset versus gain mindset, and it's another way to illustrate sort of the little victories and the whys behind it. It's pretty neat. So
Love it. Love it. Nikita, thank you so much for spending some time sharing some insights around what's going on, and a maybe secret opportunity for folks, as we talk about self-serve and in-bay. But more importantly, thanks for spending some time talking car washing with me.
of course, Matt. Thank you for having me.
Hey, friends, if you are watching or listening, don't forget you have to subscribe if you want to make sure you never miss an episode. And the last thing I'll leave you with, and this is a passion point for me, go out there today and tell somebody how much they mean to you or the impact they're having in your life, because it will matter a whole lot to them, and you will feel good too. All right, friends, we'll see you next time.